Hello, listeners. We are your co-hosts, Janine Bailey and Marie Quigley, for the Empower World Coaching and Leadership Podcast. Empower World brings guests who are making a difference to the world to inspire coaches and leaders who lead with mind, heart, and soul. Hello and welcome to the next Empower World Coaching and Leadership Podcast. And today I am without my wonderful business partner, Marie Quigley, but I am with a very special guest today, Damian Goldvarg. Damian, welcome to our podcast. We've been meaning to do this for such a long time, either with both Marie and I together or one of us with you. And finally, we've made it happen after perhaps many years. So I'm delighted that you're here Marie's here with both of us on this podcast. So, Damian, I'm going to hand over to you to introduce yourself. But before I do that, I just want to say that Marie and I are very grateful for you being a part of our journey over how many years? I think it was 2018 or 19 when we first met you through both of us, Marie and I, attending your supervision training, which was amazing. It was one of those wonderful courses that you do that just opens up many new doorways and pathways and leads to great connections. And yeah, it was just, and of course our credential as a coaching supervisor with the EMCC, of course, was a wonderful benefit as well. And it's opened up many doorways. So, Damian, thank you for being a part of our lives since then. And over to you to introduce yourself.
Janine, it's great to be here. Both of you have been great colleagues over all of these years, and we have been engaged in different projects and activities. So thank you for inviting me to be part of this conversation today. And for people who do not know me, my background is as an executive coach. I have been working with leaders and on leadership development, training, and coaching for around 30 years now. And in the process, I wrote 10 books, and my book 11 is coming up, and we may spend some time talking about this new book. And I am very passionate about coaching. So I got everybody in my family to go through coaching training. My parents, my brothers, their wives, my nephew, 4 of my closest friends, my partner, my physical trainer. Like I think that coaching skills give us skills for life. I believe that coaching, when you listen, when you build trust, when you're present, when you are willing to create new opportunities for you and others, then your life has a different tone, a different kind of quality. And the book that I wrote is about that, how to engage these coaching skills in the work of leaders. So when leaders can engage in coaching, developing a coaching mindset, the book is called Lead with a Coaching Mindset. When the leaders can engage and embrace a coaching mindset, they can be a magnet for talent. They can create organizations that are healthier, where people feel appreciated, where people keep learning and growing and developing. So it's when organizations provide that to people, the society becomes a better place and the world becomes a better place.
Yeah, absolutely. You're speaking our language, and I think it is an amazing feat that you've achieved to be able to have so many people in your family embrace coaching as a skill for leadership of self, leadership of others, but also those skills of communication, building relationships, and just again being able to see new perspectives, new opportunities, manage self, and so much more. So, well done, Damian. Congratulations on being surrounded by a wonderful group of coaches. So.
I was thinking that on Saturday I'm going to be having lunch with 5 friends, and from the 5, 3 had gone through the coaching training. I'm still thinking about the other one who have not done it yet. That I may even ask her to come for free. So she doesn't even have to pay for it. So she get the training, because I do believe that enrich your life, enhance your life.
Yeah, a beautiful gift to give to others. So now your new book, I know it's been in the making for a little while, and I've had the opportunity to read. I haven't read the whole book in its entirety yet, but I've read quite a bit. So thank you for the opportunity to read it before it's come out, Damian. And I wanted to, in this podcast, is to just to tap into some of those key things that you introduced, because I can't wait to get the physical book, because I know that it's going to be one of those books that will be easy to just pick up off the shelf and reference, be able to just pick up ideas and thoughts and what would Damian say about this? It's going to be that kind of book. So and quite early on in the book you wrote, and I'm just going to have a look at the page here, Damian. You shared, according to psychologist Diego Quindimil, I probably pronounced that incorrectly, a psychologist leader, what he says is what is needed is someone who provides, in terms of a leader, an empathic motivation and promotes mental health at work. The leader should demonstrate closeness and support, put hierarchies aside to achieve the greatest possible person-to-person connection, which you share can be challenging. And, employees, as you say, or the psychologist says, are the most valuable resource that we can have in a business. So, Damian, what I'm hearing is mental health and really holding people in high regard and supporting and developing and nurturing them is going to be absolutely critical if we want to be able to, if businesses want to be able to attract talent, because it seems that more and more the younger generation are becoming aware of this, that they want to work with people who treat them this way versus having a boss.
So there are a couple of things. When I wrote the book originally, I wrote the book was coaching skills for leaders, and then COVID hit. So I've been thinking about this book for a while, and when COVID hit, okay, how leaders need to respond differently because of COVID. And there were a lot of mental health issues. So that was a time where I wrote that. Now the book was published in Spanish last year. So this is the English version. I am revising and enhancing it, but the Spanish version came out already last year, and it has been very successful. Like, people are really giving me really great feedback. And now, with everything that's happening in the world because of political, social, economical things, it's like, I don't know what is your experience. Maybe in Australia it's a little bit different than in the UK, than in the US, where I am based. And people, for example, here have higher level of anxiety, and they are bringing the fear of the unknown, how all of these different new policies are affecting them negatively. So people in their minds is that people are thinking about fear of the unknown, anger for not agreeing to what's being done, sadness for what they are losing. So all of these emotions, people are experiencing that, and leaders need to hold a space for people to bring this to their work and to their lives. And how do you do that effectively? Now, you don't need to be a professional psychologist, but you need to be a partner. So I think that the key word, Jen, in here is partnering. And coaches, I know that these people who are going to be listening to this podcast are coaches and leaders. Coaches know that coaching is about partnering. So the idea is how we bring this mindset to leadership, how leadership becomes partnering, collaborating, in where we have conversations and dialogue, supporting versus telling people what to do, what you were talking about at the end, being the boss and giving orders. That mindset has been changing for many years, so nothing new. But what is different now is that level of partnering is going to the next level. So how do you really are collaborating some partners? So the leaders needs to really look at the mirror and pay attention to what extent I am being effective in partnering. It's anything that they need to do differently. It's anything that they need to do to be more effective. And sometimes that includes engaging people and asking them what do they need to be effective partners, because you need to dance. If the leader wants to partner, but the people working for the leader are not willing or interested, or it's challenging. So you need to bring people together and have conversations to understand where people are coming from. And this mental health therapist leader is somebody who's listening, is curious, who's interested about the person that you have in front of you as a human being, not only as an object to produce results, but the human being with needs. Now, either responsibility of the leader or the organization to meet his needs, sometimes yes, sometimes no. That's the reason why you need to have that dialogue and that collaboration and that partnering, what is key in this new leader of that is required today and tomorrow. A leader that is effective at partnering and collaborating.
Yes, beautifully said, Damian. And yes, there potentially are times when the leader does need to tell and advise, mentor. That there absolutely is going to be those times when it's needed, but it's this partnering type of leadership is what I'm hearing is definitely what is being called for. And I love the term partnering as well, because for me, when I hear partnering, it also takes the pressure off the leader to be right, to know the way forward, to hold all of that responsibility that my perspective is the right perspective, but actually by partnering with the team that the leader brings in, because they fit the requirements of the team, is being able to unlock the wisdom that is within those employees, to be able to bring that forth and benefit from it. And so that partnering conversation can really bring out a lot of wisdom and perhaps set off sparks of ideas and new ways forward together. I love that term.
The foundation is the trust, feeling trust. It's like you cannot partner if you don't work in building and cultivating a relationship that allow for people to trust each other. So here the leader should have more tools and resources to build that trust and to cultivate that trust and to invest time in the relationship, in that trust. And you build trust, and we talk about competencies. Like in the book, we have a chapter about how do you build trust in the relationships so you can do this partnering, and also require being an ethical leader. So we have another chapter about ethical leadership where you behave in ways that you expect other people to behave. You cannot have double expectations, one for you and one for the rest of the team. It's like you need to start by demonstrating the behavior that you expect from others, but really, really being intentional, demonstrating and professing your values, is implementing what is important to you, demonstrating that with actions and behaviors. So I think that in the last few years, there was some crisis in ethics in terms of leadership. And I think today we are still experiencing, for example, leaders who lie openly. So that's challenging to trust people who lie. Like,
Yeah.
okay to lie, knowing you're lying. And so this is a whole issue now that we are experiencing.
It is, isn't it? It feels like at the moment many, many boundaries, beliefs, and habits are being really pushed and challenged in so many different ways. And it feels like and this is just my own perception of things, it feels like the planet is being challenged in terms of what leadership is. And there's still a way to go to appreciate this really what I consider to be a powerful way of leading in relation to the coaching principles. I see coaching as leadership, as Marie does too. They are the leadership skills, and your book, really follows that by bringing in these ways of being as a coach or a thinking partner is a really powerful and effective way of leadership. But at the moment, there seems to be a lot of noise that is perhaps preventing people from realizing that. It's almost like I'm waiting for the dust to settle and for what you are sharing, Damian, to be really recognized and realized. So I don't know if that is making any sense, but as I share what I'm experiencing, I'm wondering what's perhaps coming up for you.
What's coming out for me that part of the job of coaches, and this is also my background as a professional coach, is to raise higher level of awareness so leaders can be more effective. So this is part of my goal with this book, is inviting leaders. Okay, higher level of awareness means, okay, pay attention, look around you. What are you paying attention to? What are you not seeing? How you can be intentional in paying attention to what's happening around you. And that higher level of awareness, starting paying attention to things you were not paying attention before, allow you to be able to make better decisions and be a better leader. So part of the book is also an invitation to think strategically, think systemically. What are all of the different things affecting and impacting you? How other stakeholders that are part of your organization that you may not be paying attention to, that you need to be better prepared for the future. That's another topic of my personal interest, is how we prepare for the future today. How we can be effective leaders not only by what we're doing, but when we are moving forward or going in a different direction, what is our legacy? So people can continue our work and be prepared, well prepared, so they can be successful in the future. So for me, effective leadership is not only being successful today, it's being successful today and setting up for success for the future. So how do you do that? How are you paying attention to future trends? How you're paying attention to signs, let's say signs for the future? What are the things that sometimes people don't want to look, don't want to see them? So these are really important places for leaders to pay attention to. And I do believe when you create high level of awareness, that allow you to have a better reading, better understanding, and then make better decisions. And they're not perfect, the decisions. Sometimes we don't have all of the information. We live in a world of uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, the VUCA world, where it's challenging sometimes knowing that this is the best decision. But we need to work hard in collecting all of this data, paying attention to this element, building that higher level of awareness so we can be as effective as possible. And get help. We may sometimes not be able to do that a lot. That's the reason why there are coaches that can help leaders, other leaders that can mentor leaders. Look for places where people may challenge your thinking. Like if we hear everybody telling everything we say, yes, great, when we are not being challenged, we cannot grow. So go for places, look for people who can challenge you on your thinking.
Yes, absolutely. It's embracing the uncomfortable to continue that stretching and growing and revealing those blind spots of thinking and doing by, as you say, engaging a coach or a mentor or a peer or a trusted ear that can support, identify those blind spots. But as you say, Damian, being aware of what's really important to the leader in terms of what they want to create, their legacy, and being aware of their purpose and values is going to support that, I guess, that ongoing curiosity and desire to keep expanding and growing awareness. Very, very important key things I think that leaders need to embrace. Yeah. So, and I'm really hearing how this book, if should anyone decide to purchase in it, which I trust they will, is going to support new leaders. It's going to support leaders that have been in perhaps their roles for years, decades, but bring in that mindset of a leader who coaches, a leader who is a thinking partner to others, who brings out the best in others, who partners with the people that they are surrounded with to, again, bring in their wisdom and so much more. So, Damian, as we know, the uncertainty in our VUCA world right now, it's enormous. It's in everyday conversations. It's in coaching conversations, leadership conversations. It's on the news, current affairs. It's everywhere, this uncertainty that we are experiencing now. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, as a leader in your world and expert in leadership, what would you say to people, or what would you invite them to reflect upon to support them through this challenging time?
Okay, what my coaching question would be, how do you want to show up under these conditions? Particularly because we don't feel we can control what's going on in many ways. So this feeling of lack of control many times make people to shut down or close or distance instead of showing up. And in this time, what we need is to show up versus hide. So when you feel like hiding or shutting down, or the invitation is, what do you need and what support can you get to keep showing up in a way that continue inspiring others? Because a key element of coaching and supervision, and here when we're talking about leadership, is how we inspire others. So as a leader, part of our job is to inspire others. And sometimes we don't feel very inspired ourselves, but we still need to do it. So it's how we can find resources and sources of inspiration so we can continue showing up in a way that is authentic, but at the same time is committed. Is what is the level of commitment that we have to continue making a difference, inspiring others, doing what is important to us, aligning to our vision, goals, values, and continue showing up, being clear about where we're going, and also finding sources of inspiration no matter what. How does it sound? Easy to say, not so easy to do.
Yes, absolutely. We are.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy. But I do believe that we need to look for sources of inspiration. So
Yeah.
that would be my something that I want to lead people to think. It's like, okay, where will you find that?
And what I'm hearing is essentially what I'm hearing and making up. It's about putting on going back to that analogy, putting on our oxygen mask as a leader, as a coach or thinking partner, or whatever role we're in these very challenging times for many reasons. As you said, political, economical, all sorts of, the conflicts that are going on around the world. We need to put on our oxygen mask to come back to our truth, come back to what's important, come back to what our authentic self desires and what's again values, purpose, etc. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah. And for me, it's about one step at a time, one step at a time.
Yep.
And putting trust into the hope that we'll come through this.
Yeah, and being intentional. Being intentional. Like a key word we didn't discuss today is resilience. Resilience is our ability to deal with all of these challenges that we have in life. And the resilience is something we develop and that help us to navigate the challenges. It's the energy that we bring that support us so we can keep going. And for different people, resilience works differently. But when you find sources of inspiration, when you continue looking at your vision, why are you doing what you're doing, aligning to your mission, your vision, to what is important in your life, bringing people together that you respect and you love, you care about. Many times these are the people who inspire us. Many sources of inspiration are our colleagues. Like you inspire me, Janine. Like when I work with you and I see you working, that's our colleagues inspire us. Family members, friends, people around us that can be a source of recharging batteries.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And likewise, the work that you do, Damian, is inspirational. You've got a wonderful tribe of coaches and supervisors and so much more that and so it's a real honor to be part of that circle. So really appreciate that. And because the work that we do is really supporting people, leaders, to tap into who they really are and what is so important to them, their vision, their mission, and we choose to work with people that are ready to do this work and want to create that ripple effect, that positive impact in the world. So it is a very special place to be. And resilience, absolutely, Damian, building our resilience. And I think part of that is also really tapping into what we're grateful for, what we appreciate, as well as you say, what influences and inspires us. So, yeah. So, Damian, I really appreciate the conversation we've had so far. Before we do wrap up, what would you like to share with our listeners that perhaps inspires you, influences you, that keeps you motivated and going on your journey, your beautiful journey?
Thank you. Well, what inspired me is when I was talking about vision and values. Mission is knowing what is important to us. What gives life a sense of wanting to wake up in the morning and have a great day. It's like every day is an opportunity to have an amazing day. And the question is, what do you need to do for that to happen to you? So how you can create your own amazing, meaningful day every day. Have to be intentional. You need to ask yourself that question. Well, this day I am going to live it to the fullest. So it's an everyday question. How I am going to take this day, this experience, how I'm going to live it to the fullest. Because we don't know how long time do we have in this world. So let's make it meaningful. Let's take risks. Not be too comfortable. I don't think that being too comfortable is good. So we need to be a little bit uncomfortable to grow, learn, and develop. And don't forget what is important to you and be sure that you're aligned. Because this is a lot of the work that we do as coaches, is working with leaders to support them to be aligned. And there is a lack of alignment in the world between behaviors and values. What's really important to people and how they behave. So working in that alignment to have a more harmonious world, I think it's some of our work. So.
Yeah, thank you. And as you share that, Damian, I feel like that the world needs to hear more of that alignment, because we know it's there, but it just doesn't get the exposure that perhaps other things do, the more dramatic things. So we know that it exists out there. So it feels like for me, yeah, remembering that. And so when you share that reset and each day, that reset of what's going to bring us joy and alignment and stepping into what's important. I'm making up my own words here based on what you've shared, Damien. Um, but it sounds energizing. And as I'm sharing that, I guess I'm getting inspiration and recognizing actually we're deleting so much of our out of our consciousness at the moment if we pay attention to the stories that we're hearing on the news. So I feel quite energized knowing that there is so much positive stories out there that we can tap into. Really,
We need to listen more of that. We need to listen more of them. The thing is, sometimes the great stories don't sell as much, so we don't get to hear them. But it's a good reminder where we can go to find inspirational stories in the people around us.
yeah, and
That will be a good task for our listeners today.
yes, absolutely. And that we are surrounded by people who have got amazing stories. So, mm. So I really appreciate having this conversation with you, Damien. Um, and so I know I did ask you a wrap-up question, but something is coming up. If you shared perhaps a one of those inspirational stories about one of your clients, obviously it has to be confidential, but if there's something, an overall story that you would like to share to inspire our listeners about leadership alignment briefly, what
Mhm.
would that be?
There is a story that I shared today with a colleague of mine that came up, so I can share that briefly. It's about leadership because that came up because this week ICF presented the calls for proposals for the next conference coming up next this year in October, and I was with a colleague, and she was telling me about the proposal, and she said, "Oh, probably whatever you present, you will be accepted." And I said, it was not the case. A few years ago, I presented a proposal to the presentation of supervision, and the topic was too new, was 2017. It was a MSF conference in Washington, so they didn't accept my proposal. Um, so I contacted the organizers, and I was the past president, okay, of the organization. Didn't mean anything. They didn't like my proposal. They didn't think supervision was important. And so I asked if I could rent a room after the conference was over. And they said, okay, we can do that. We can help you. So they helped me to rent a room. I paid for the room. And after the conference was over, I put together a workshop on coaching supervision. And the day of the event, I was exhausted. It like was a long day in the conference, and I was telling the partner, I don't know, I don't know who's going to come. We should maybe cancel this event. I'm too tired to go on doing this. And my friend saying, "You're crazy. Let's go. I will support you." So we went, and I rented a room for 30 people to do a workshop on supervision. The workshop that I wanted to do, so people would learn about what was supervision. And I ended up having 50 people in the room, and the room was completely packed. It went great. And one of the participants said, well, that was the best workshop of the conference. I said, we cannot say that because we're not part of the conference. But that is a good story about when you have a vision and you have a mission, it's not give up. Don't give up. It's like keep looking for opportunities to make things happen. And 10 years later, we are still trying to bring more visibility to coaching supervision, and there is still more work to be done. But I like this story. It's not giving up. It's like, okay, I make it happen anyways.
Yes, yes. Fantastic. And what comes to mind for me in relation to I guess an inspirational story was hearing a coaching session and this, very challenging world that we're in at the moment came into the session. It was a very large part of the session that I was listening into as a mentor. But what I really appreciated was the coach listening to their intuition and bringing in a quote, which I can't remember what it was, but it was about Mother Teresa and the fact that she had so little herself, but she was true to herself, and she helped so many people with what she did, and that really landed for the client. And all of a sudden, they were able to realize, actually, I just need to be me and do what I do, and I don't need much actually to be able to make a difference in other people's lives. It was just such a one of those wonderful moments where the penny really dropped, so to speak. I hope that makes sense for the listeners. About actually, I can delete all of this noise that's going on at the moment and just be me and make the difference that I know I'm meant to make.
Great.
Mm.
Thank you, Push.
Mm. So, Damian, thank you. Thank you for your time. Really appreciate you being here with Marie and I, and looking forward to ongoing communication, dialogue, collaborations, study.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the invitation. The book is coming up in July. So people pay attention. Still we have a few months. It comes out.
Yeah, all the very best with your book. So listeners, please do look out for the book and the title, if I can remember it, Damian, or maybe you might be able to share.
Live with a coaching mindset.
That's it. When you see it, highly recommend. What I've read so far has been insightful, so thank you. Thank you, listeners, and love to hear your feedback, your comments, always welcome, and we look forward to you joining us for the next podcast.
Thanks for listening. You can find out more about us on our website www.empower-world.com and on our social media networks Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube. Be empowered.